You can count on me like 1, 2, 3, I'll be there. And I know when I need it, I can count on you like 4, 3, 2, you'll be there.
Hey, I like that. That sounded really good.
You'll have to sing that at karaoke.
Like that.
You'll have to sing that at karaoke this weekend at St. Edward's in Little Rock.
Yes.
Yeah.
Are you going to do karaoke down there?
Well, we'll see. But let's introduce everything first, and then we'll get into it.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Hi, this is Elizabeth. It's me, God, with on RadioTitans.com, and calling in from Clarksville, Arkansas, and out there in L.A. Who do we have today?
We have got Carl.
And we've got Zolim. Zolim.
Well, I am so happy.
Yep.
Don't tell the other guys I said this, but the best of the four.
Oh!
Hey, now.
Isn't that what mamas do? You're my favorite.
Yeah, that is always
each and
mamas.
every one of them.
But I was
Don't
lucky.
tell the others, but you're my favorite.
I was lucky because I was the only one. So I was both the
Okay.
favorite and the least favorite.
The only one and the least favorite? Wow. Well, anyhow? Well, in the last 3 weeks, we have discussed the last 100 miles of a journey. And driving 100 miles, how long it seems to get. And just now I was telling someone, dear, about the fact that today has been one of those days where you really have not been physically feeling well. And it's like running that last, mile of the race. Your body is just screaming in pain, probably, if you're doing a 26-mile marathon, which I have never done. But I know that last part of the race, you're just really having to push past the burn, as they call it, and keep on going. And Bob and I were talking about the fact how it's kind of depressing, and I can understand how all these people feel out there who are like us in our 60s and just don't have the oomph anymore to keep going and do things like you'd like to do. And it's a part of the cross, part of the journey that we have to travel on. Well, we've been given, especially last week, a very clear and strong message and how important it was that we draw away from the worldly lifestyles and get back into the wilderness or desert. And I want to make sure that we understand completely what God means about that. And it's basically to get away from distractions, to get away from those things that are contaminators, calling those what I'm talking about there.
Yep.
And get away from people, too. Get away from people, too, that are contaminators, people who would make you feel like, what are you doing, and why are you doing it? I'm going to tell you a story, and because
I love
God
stories.
always brings stories into my life
I
for a reason.
love
What is
stories.
that, Celine?
I love stories.
Okay. Well, this is always a human element in it. Well, the other day, I was talking to a good friend on the phone who had called me and hadn't talked to her in a long time, and I was telling her about the messages that I was receiving and how important it was that we draw away into the wilderness and that we draw away from worldly lifestyles, and how important it was that we really pray more in earnest, because things are coming down that are people are going to have a hard time as things happen in life. And after I got through on the phone, my husband had left the room and left the house even, and he just blew up at me about, why are you always preaching gloom and doom? And I'm going, excuse me? What's gloom and doom? Look at the world. Is this happy? Excuse me, turn on the news and what do you hear? And I said, the fact that I believe that we're going to be seeing Jesus again soon, to me, that's wonderful and exciting. And it gives me hope in the midst of all this mess. It gives me hope. And so it escalated a little bit. I couldn't figure out why he is feeling this way. And we had a good little fight. And then after he went to bed, this was pretty late in the evening. He went to bed. Late for us is 9 o'clock, guys. He went to bed, and I came in here, and I said, okay, God, I'm supposed to be listening to my husband. Maybe I'm not doing something right. Maybe I shouldn't be talking gloom and doom. What is going on here? And I said, please give me a word that is specific to what this problem is all about. And if I'm in the wrong, then let me know so that we can take care of business here. And he led me. I mean, in my mind, I hear Romans chapter 14. And I said, okay, we'll go to Romans, and maybe there'll be a 14. It's like you could hear him go, there will be a 14. It's like, how dare you question God? There'll be a 14. Anyhow, so I did, and there was a 14, lo and behold, as he said there was. But it says the very first line, welcome anyone who is weak in faith, but not for disputes over opinions. I mean, right there, boom. We were having an argument about opinions. I believe this, he believes that, but God's telling me not to be disputing this. And then it goes on to talk about the one person believes that one may eat anything. It's talking about, of course, you shouldn't eat this food or that food back then. And while the weak person only eats vegetables, the one who eats must not despise the one who abstains, and the one who abstains must not pass judgment. So it's just like in this world right now, we sure got a lot of different opinions out there, don't we?
Yeah.
Yeah, very much so.
Right, a lot of people, different opinions and different ways of handling things. Congress is a good example, and Congress in the White House is another example. And so God's telling us not to be disputing over differences of opinions, whether it's religious beliefs or political beliefs or whatever, but to be patient with each other. And so the next morning when Bob gets up and we have time together, I talked to him about what God spoke to my heart and then told him about we shouldn't be fighting over things. And then I got to asking him a little bit more about, would you please, I really need to know why it is that you see it as gloom and doom and I do not. I said, I really need to know this so it can help me be another greater understanding. And it boils down to this, and this may be what's the problem with all of the people in the world who are having uncomfortable dealings with believing in a God, because they realize how weak they are. They realize how quickly they fall back into old habits. And like you said, why try? Why try? He said, and there was many a times that he has gone on retreats with me. He's gone to places with me, Bethania, Notre Dame for conferences, and he's come home full of joy and happy and just really high in the love of the Lord. And then because, and this is why, because you fail to follow through with pursuing the things of God. Like yes. You should have a disciplined prayer time. You should be reading the Bible every day so you can get more fresh input, or studying some other books, or going to other retreats and things. You should be like getting into church every Sunday, or even more than that. For us Catholics, we have the ability to go every day if we want to. Other places have services on Wednesday, but they at least twice a week they have services. But there are things that you do to keep this faith strong. As Jesus gave the parable, he says, you've got to stir that ground up in the garden so that the seed grows. There were other examples he gave us, too, about how important it was to make sure that what is given to us doesn't die. And so for Bob, and I told him, I said, Bob, I have the same problem. I go up and down, too. I say, yeah, I'm going to do this. And then I trip up. But you can't stop. You got to keep going again. You got to try again. Get up and go again. And you can't give up. It's like we said at the beginning of the show about running this race. You just can't get so close and then say, never mind. Seriously, there was a time just a little bit ago that I was going, Lord, I don't know if I'm really good enough for you to be on talking about things on this radio show. If I'm doing the work you're wanting me to do, I was having these feelings, these doubts, and this is normal. But you don't let them, like they say, don't let the bird nest in your head. You got to shoo them away. So this is what we're going to be talking about, is our spiritual life and why does it work for some, and why others, though, just say, yuck, I don't want it. And it's because they feel like, I can't do this. I can't be this holy person. I can't be a person that's a saint. Well, that's because, we don't fully understand that every saint there is or was and is now in heaven had a horrible life, and they had troubles and trials. And it's like St. Teresa said when she was stuck in the middle of a river where a wheel broke on her carriage, and the horse couldn't get anywhere because the wheel broke in the middle of this river. And she says, Lord, if this is the way you treat your friends, God help the enemies. And this is true. Your lives are not perfect, are they, guys?
Oh, no, I don't think anybody's perfect, so, but, yeah, you always have to be careful about, who is, really on your side and all that, and who you let into your life and influence it and all that.
That's right, because they can bring you down, they can discourage you even more.
Sure.
And even our past and the way we subconsciously feel our parents, our teachers, or our friends of the past are looking at us now. We still got this little loop, as they call it, playing in the back of our mind about, I'm not satisfying them, I'm not good enough, I'm disappointing them.
Self-rejection.
These are things that we literally have to say, no, get out of here.
Exactly.
I'm disconnecting from that kind of, I'm doing what I know I have to do in my life, and I can't allow the things of the past to control me anymore. So get out of here. And it's a choice. It's like forgiving someone. It's a choice. You may not feel like you're forgiving them, but you still say, I forgive them, Father, and let go of it, because to keep hanging on to anything that is a hurt, a grudge, a fear, a doubt, to hang on to any of these things, we're just literally really, but just imagine what the garbage dump looks like from all the garbage out of the city of New York. Can you imagine?
Hmm. What was that again?
How does New York City?
What do you think the garbage dump would look like with all the garbage being collected out of New York?
Well, just ugly and giant.
Ooh, boy. Yeah,
yes.
No, that's it's not a very pretty image.
Yeah. What happens in your mind and in your spirit and in you when you keep your negative garbage and pile it up or store it up?
It's not just emotional poison. I mean, it's physical. It manifests itself into physical poison.
Amen.
Oh,
Amen.
yes.
That's right. It destroys the body, the spirit, and the soul. And that's what we're going to get into. One of the things I said last week, and we're going to do that, there's the beginning line, you might not be considered a Christian. We said we were going to do that this week, and we are.
That's right.
But before I go there,
I remember that.
Yeah, I got yours ready. Before I go there, I want to share another story with you. A good friend who is very sick and dealing with a chronic problem she said, I'm tired of suffering, and yet every time she has a problem, she rushes me to the hospital because I need antibiotics and so forth and so on, and steroids to keep me going. But one part of her saying, I'm tired of suffering, I don't want to be in this way. Another part of her says, though, very loudly, but I'm afraid of dying. And so I was praying with her, and I said, Lord, tell me what to tell this lady. I got to give her something. And in his mysterious ways, I opened it up, the Bible, to where are you at? Chronicles. Here we go. 2 Chronicles, chapter 7, chapter 7. And you know how last week we went out with this song about I will heal their land, if my people? Well, chapter 7 was all about Solomon dedicating the temple of God. Now, we are his temple because God lives within us. And this lady is his temple. I'm his temple. And so God was leading me in that direction. And leading in the direction that we went into already about you cannot accumulate past mistakes, past hurts. You got to get rid of all these things. and choose to do it. Okay. When Solomon had ended his prayer,